Welcome to the Open to Hope Show. I'm your host, Dr. Gloria Horsley, with my daughter and co-host,
Dr. Heidi Horsley.
These shows are brought to you by the Open to Hope Foundation and the Soaring Spirits in partnership with Soaring Spirits. Our mission is helping people find hope after loss and giving a voice to grief and recovery. So we have got a great show today, Heidi.
Yep.
Because for all of you who've had a loss, and particularly we're going to focus in a bit on a loss of a spouse today, we're going to give you some tips, tools, and ideas and introduce you to some wonderful people who have gone on to enjoy life again after the loss of a spouse. Right, Heidi?
Yep, we're going to talk about spouse loss with two women that know this topic well because they have both lost their spouses. And like you said, we're going to be talking about, I lost the love of my life, how do I go on?
Right, because we know a lot of you are feeling like you have lost the love of your life, and how will you go on?
Absolutely. So Mom, today we have Laura Fahrenthold with us.
Hi, Laura.
Hopefully I said that right.
Yes, you did.
Very good. And next to her is Carol Scibeli.
Right?
And Carol's been on our show before.
Yep. Hi,
So
Carol.
welcome.
Hi, how you doing, guys?
So let me tell you a little bit about them. Laura has written a book called The Pink Steering Wheel Chronicles.
I love that name.
I know,
Pink
right?
Steering Wheel Chronicles. It's going to be fun to hear more about it because I know you traveled around with your daughters. It's great.
Yeah, she traveled around. She went 30,152
Whoa.
miles in an RV with her daughters.
How many miles?
30,152. Is that
A lot of
crazy?
mileage you got on you.
With two teenagers. Wasn't it two teenagers? Which one were
They
you talking
didn't
about?
start as teenagers,
Okay,
but
preteens.
we graduated to teenage.
How did you do it with school-wise?
We pretty much did it during the summer and then on vacations and
And I know you took his ashes with you too, and we're going to be talking about that because
Yes.
you did some ashes things too, and we'll talk
and-
about that.
So Laura's husband, Mark Pittman, was a Bloomberg financial reporter and
Wow.
very, very well known.
He was involved in the
Federal Reserves.
Yeah, suing the Federal Reserve,
Yes,
right?
he was the first person that ever did it.
he
Right?
took the Federal Reserve on.
That's amazing.
Really?
Yeah.
And because he wanted them to release information about the mortgage crisis or something, was
Yeah,
that
and
it?
they kept stonewalling him.
Yeah.
That's incredible.
And he was not an obnoxious person, but he was like...
He was a presence. In a good way.
a-
I saw a video of him and I was like, wow. When he walked in a room, you knew he was there.
Oh, you really saw a video? So
I
you
saw a
knew- so
video
you
and I
feel
felt like I got to
kinda
know him
knew
a little bit.
Yes, I was just going to say,
You
yeah.
know how the social media does that.
Sure, absolutely, it does.
Yeah. And then Carol's husband, Jimmy,
Right.
he died as well.
Darling
Well, yeah, that's
man.
why I'm here. We did that last time. Can you
tell
the same thing last
Carol-
time, similar.
Carol is a stand-up, and you
so
can you
funny.
tell?
A stand-up comedian. When you say
Yes, I
stand-up,
should
Well,
say that. A stand-up
yeah, what
comedian,
else
and
would they-
she is very funny. I have
and
to
she's
say.
written a fun book.
Yes.
I mean, fun on grief and loss.
No, but it
fun.
is a little bit fun.
I
Okay,
like
so,
her
yeah.
book. It is
Thank you.
fun, and it's got a fun cover, and it's called Poor Widow Me.
Yes, it is. Yes.
And Jimmy and Mark, I think they both died in similar circumstances with the
Yeah,
heart
wait a
attack,
minute.
right?
No, that's
okay.
so
No.
funny that your
they?
mom said
I said,
that
didn't
earlier.
you die of a heart
Of
attack?
a heart attack, and I said no. The reason you'd think that is because when I go to groups and I speak to them, he died of lymphoma within
Okay.
6 weeks, very quick.
Oh, wow.
But my nephew used to say you don't say lymphoma correctly. You say, and I said I don't know. He says lymphoma. I can't say it. So I usually say to the audience, all right, ask me what my husband died from, and they all yell, and they say, what did your husband die from? And I say, heart attack. 'Cause I could say it,
That's so
but he didn't have a heart attack.
But it was quick.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was within 6 weeks. He was diagnosed in March, beginning of March, died April 13th of 2006. Oh. Yeah, it was like,
That's unbelievable.
it wasn't quite a heart attack, but I felt like it was, I never
Sudden,
thought it was going to happen because it was so fast. There was no real, what they call, as you know, anticipatory grief. There was
Yeah.
none
Right,
of that.
yeah, it wasn't
It was
years
just like,
of
nah, he's not
illness.
really sick. Oh, come on, you feel all right. You're okay. And then all of a sudden, he wasn't okay.
Wow.
Yeah. I guess I'm not much of a caregiver.
But that was kind of similar with you. Well, your husband died of a heart attack quickly, right? Did he? He did. Laura.
Because you explain about it in the book.
Tragically.
Yes, you got a phone call and he said he wasn't feeling well, right?
And I raced
Yeah.
home.
It was awful.
Oh,
It
gee.
was bad.
I'm saying it was awful because my mom and I read that part out loud,
Yeah.
and I was
Yeah.
like, wow, that's traumatic.
Now, how many
was
years has
traumatic.
it been for each of you?
For me, it's 12 and a half.
Okay.
I'd have to count on my fingers.
I always do that. Oh my god.
I think it's been 9.
Okay.
Yeah.
So around kind of the same.
We're the same.
Right, it's very similar. I remember when it was so early on, it was weeks, then you thought months, then it was over the year. Remember at the beginning? It was just so strange. And now to think, now it's like half years. For me, the half year is October, right? And it's always people, for whoever's listening, it's always worse right before the anniversary. I don't know if you feel that way. Like, I know it's April 13th, so by April 10th, I'm thinking, it's going to be. And then that day is not as traumatic somehow. Is that
Yeah,
right?
isn't that funny?
Right, you feel that way too?
Yeah. You can feel it in your bones.
Anticipatory.
Right?
And the other thing
Just
that's
like when
interesting
it's
is-
going to snow.
The other thing that's interesting
Yeah.
about time is that all of a sudden my calendar is before Scott died and after Scott died.
Yes.
It's like you can think, you can kind of remember when something happened more because you can think, okay, before Jimmy died,
Right.
after Mark died, when did these things happen?
Right,
In
exactly.
your head.
And I heard someone say once that it's kind of like history because you remember your whole history while they were with you, but you
Yes.
kind of have to create a new, there's no history.
That's the hardest part
Yeah.
about losing somebody is you don't have that person who gets your jokes. Or you can just look at each other across the room and know what you're thinking.
Right.
You lose half of yourself
Right,
with
you don't.
them.
Yeah, all the memories.
Yeah,
remember when
so hard
there's no
to
one else
deal
to
with
remember
that.
it with you. Yes, exactly.
I just remember when my mother died, I found it very annoying because I couldn't call her
Annoying.
up and say, remember that guy that used to live across.
Funny that you called it
You know, what
annoying,
was his
though. It was
name?
annoying when she died.
I know, it was very annoying.
Like, how could you do
Mother,
that?
what happened
But it's
to
but
you?
it's strange. You don't have those shared moments.
Yeah.
But,
Yeah.
but I also think with spouse loss, there's an identity piece because you're married and then you're married. You're not, I was going to say you're not married, but you guys would probably both, what would you say
Married?
to
How
me
does
if
that
I
work?
said that? Yeah.
Right. Yeah,
Carol,
being
how does
single.
that- yeah.
Being single was a strange thing. People don't like the word widow, but I remember early on someone said, "You could do that. You're single," and I said, "Yeah, I am." But the thing that for me, I have 3 grandchildren. My oldest is 14 and a half. She was just 2. So I think of all the things that he hasn't seen. The whole family changed. My son has a girlfriend. My daughter is remarried, has 2 more children. All that. I mean, it's a long time, but it's not a long time. It's what we take for granted when we, all get together.
Yeah.
You know, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. You know what I was thinking on the way over? We all know each other now
Yeah.
as, you lost your son, you lost your brother, we lost our husbands. I wonder if we feel more comfortable with people who knew us before, who knew your son and who knew our husband. I wonder if the shared history from before is more, it makes you feel closer.
Yeah.
In a way, I don't
Yeah,
know.
maybe so, but I'll have to say I remember what a relief it was after Scott died to go somewhere he'd never been.
Okay.
Didn't you do any yearning and searching where you went places and looked for them?
That's interesting.
Well, Laura got in the RV.
In every crowd of people, I still look for his face.
Did you when you got in the RV, so you took an RV, you got in it with your girls, and you traveled 30,000 plus miles. Did you go to places that your husband loved or that Mark loved, or did you go to new places when you traveled all over?
We just tripped around. We
Okay.
didn't have any itinerary.
Okay.
We didn't take him to places that he'd been or his favorite places. He didn't even know that I was doing that until I started doing it. But my goal was to get him everywhere I could so I could return him back to the arms of the people that he was working
Now, when you say
for.
taking him with it, explain to our audience
Your
what
ashes,
you
right?
meant by taking him.
His ashes. I wanted to give our kids more family time. I know it sounds really weird to have their dad in a box of ashes, but come on kids, come on Mark, let's go. And we bought this RV on the side of the road and it gave us more family time.
And where did he sit in the RV?
Oh, he sat, he ended up,
That's a good one, right?
he sat in the front seat, but I was able to get my kids out in breathing air and building campfires and peeing in the woods and climbing mountains and doing all these things. And he was always a part of
It was a
that.
tribute to their dad. In
And
a
you
way,
would take
right?
a little bit of ashes wherever, or how did you do
Oh,
it?
yeah. So we'd be like, okay, let's put Dad. We would be queen for the
you
day.
scattered them in different
Right,
places.
so we got to be queen for the day. We had to do whatever the queen wanted to do that day. So if my daughter Susanna was the queen that day and she wanted to go climb that mountain in Quebec, well, that's exactly what we did.
Wow.
Love this.
Because she's like, I think Dad would like to be at the top of that mountain. And we had to do it.
That's
That
pretty
was the
cool.
rule. You had to do what the queen wanted.
And how old were your kids at that time?
9 and 11.
That's great.
That's a good age.
Those
So-
are good ages to do
Yeah,
it.
So it
Right.
really
Different
got
teenagers.
them out of their
Good age.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, it's a good age to travel around with your father's ashes.
Yeah.
That's a good age. That's so silly. I was thinking the same thing, actually. Yeah.
Well, Carol, that gets us into humor. What about humor and loss?
Well, humor and loss, it seems like it's together. We just watched the Bush funeral. People were laughing one moment, crying the next. They were remembering something that was familiar. And I love that they did that, and I love that they showed whoever watched that because people say they feel awkward or
Oh,
guilty
yes.
laughing.
That's what I was going to say.
Right?
People feel bad when they first laugh.
But I don't understand why.
They
I
feel like
never-
it's disloyal to the person that died, and
never
that
got
people will
that.
judge them
right.
and say, "How can she laugh? Her husband died," or "How can
Right.
she laugh? Her brother died."
But peop-
She must have not been close to him.
Yeah, I know
She
they
would
think
be
that.
laughing.
But if you feel secure in your feelings and your love, then you shouldn't really have that.
Maybe you don't feel secure. Maybe you're angry. Were you guys angry at all that your
I was never
husbands
angry.
left
I was
you?
never angry. Were you angry? I think we're unusual though,
Yeah.
right? You hear that a lot. A lot of widows angry. They're angry people, widows. Sorry, guys. They are. I mean, I used to think of tsunamis and terrible things, and look at all the fires in California. People lose their families, they lose their homes, and we just lost one little husband. I mean, it wasn't really a small thing, of course. It changed our
But
entire
both of
life.
you were
but
relatively young to lose a husband. I mean, you weren't
Yeah.
95 years old.
And I must say, in reading both of your things and knowing you,
or
you
things,
love
they're
these
books. Things.
Thank you. Things.
Thank you.
You
a
guys
book, right?
really loved your husbands.
Yeah, yeah.
I really liked my husband.
Yeah.
And I also loved him too, but I liked him
As a person, you were friends.
so much. We
you
were friends.
He was your go-to person in a lot of ways for a lot of things, a lot of gossip and stuff.
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, I liked my husband too.
Yeah.
I remember telling someone, I didn't think it was a big deal. I said, you know, when I was mad at him and we were in a group and I would walk into the room and I'd see him in the room, I would say to myself, would I want to know him if I didn't know him?
I love
And it was
that.
always yes. And I did it especially
learned
just,
that,
it
Carol.
brought me back after being,
Carol,
you
that's
know, annoyed
great.
with him.
Yeah.
I said, yeah, I kind of, yeah, right?
That's funny. I used to do the same
really?
thing. Yeah.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
Because we did like him. He in business, he was very ethical. His deal was to, if you and I have a deal, and we say, let's switch. You take my position, I'll take yours. That's a good deal. That's how business should be. And I always respected that.
That's neat.
Yeah. It's not someone trying to screw somebody. It's not any of that.
So he was in business, and your husband was in business, and you have 2 kids, three daughters. Mm-hmm. And how many children do you have?
Daughter and a son.
A daughter and a son. Mm-hmm. Okay, but they were different ages when it sounds like your kids were younger than your
Right.
kids when they
Yeah.
lost their dads, because that's a big thing to
Right.
lose
My
your dad.
kids were 25 and 29.
That's big to be in your
it's-
20s and,
Oh,
and
yeah.
younger
Sure.
and not have a father.
That's big.
It's still young, but it's also they were out on their own, but they were kind of, they're still affected by it. There's still a lot of,
And all of a sudden you're a single parent, which brings about
Right.
its
It's
own
actually,
stuff, right?
this is my pet peeve, and I don't have many.
Mm-hmm.
We are only parents. We're not single parents.
Okay, I like
Right?
that. Okay,
Don't
that's,
you like
that's an
that?
important term.
I do.
Yes.
We're
I never
only
heard that.
parents.
Did you make that up?
Yes, sheknows.com had me blog about that, and I got hundreds and hundreds of hits.
Wow.
Because when you're an only parent, you are on your own. When you're a single parent, there typically would be an ex-husband in the picture who would typically, not always, but typically be a co-parent.
That could be a pain in the neck or not.
It could be horrible, but at least, I mean, there is a difference.
Yeah. Yeah.
I
for
agree
sure.
with you. There's a big difference.
Sure.
knowing that there's another parent.
Well, I know people that are watching this want to know about your books. How, when did you get, they're thinking, what am I going to do? How did these guys decide to write books? I mean, is that something I should be doing?
Well, I was always a writer. I had columns and did a lot of that kind of thing anyway.
What kind of things did you write about?
I had a column called Frankie and Me, which was about my husband. I called it a sitcom, a meant to be read column. No, a meant to be read sitcom.
I love that.
I did that, and it was a lot of dialogue in that. I wrote something about being over 50, had a column for that. Over the
where
years,
did you where were your columns?
The Fire Island Tide was for Frankie and Me. That was a seasonal kind of thing at Fire Island.
that's
Another
so
one was the
cool.
Queen's Tribune, if I could say it. That's why I had to stop.
That's right. I couldn't say it.
Was there a topic, Carol, that was really popular among people?
Yes.
What was it?
Funny that you asked that. Friendship. Friendship was the big deal. I did a thing
Friendship
called Dr.
after, okay.
No, this is before.
No,
Oh, it's before your-
before Jimmy, yeah.
Oh,
So she was a
interesting.
writer, so
Yeah, I
you
wrote about-
naturally went into writing a book.
Right, it was natural for me, and
I
I
bet
kept,
you that topic would be important after your spouse dies too.
Yes.
How do friendships change? Now you're the single woman.
Yes, but you got to
mean-
be friends with them while your husband's alive, because they won't let you in the card
Well,
group after that.
That's what I'm
Because-
wondering too.
Yes.
You're coming in as a single woman. That's sometimes fine, and sometimes some women are threatened by that.
Right, that's true. I think that's old-fashioned, though. I don't
Okay, well,
think,
that's good
like
to
you're
know.
going to take. I don't know. I'm just saying it. Don't take my.
Have you found that old-fashioned? Do you think there are people that don't want you in the group because you're single?
She's
You're
gonna
very
take the
threatening. You're
fifth.
very threatening.
She's going to take the fifth.
Yeah, do you
I
think
bet-
you've had that experience?
Friendships change, right?
I think that after you experience something that changes your entire world, life, psyche, heart, soul, you look at things and you take inventory.
Yeah.
And I did. So I've changed out a few, what do they call, toxic people, and just really settled.
Yeah, because there's friends
Within-
that are there for you, and there's friends that can't handle the fact that have had someone die.
But you have to be there for yourself.
Yeah.
And that is the hardest thing to learn, to be at peace and to be able to not have to depend upon anybody except you.
Yeah.
Because
So
you can't let yourself down.
That's kind of one of the maybe interesting things about it is you can do whatever you want to do today.
Well, yes. It's not preferable.
Well, it is pretty good, though. It is pretty good. I mean, I have a situation. You met my boyfriend Mickey, and he's in Florida for good months of the year, and then he comes to New York, and it's great. While we're together, it's terrific, and while we're not, so I do experience that. I can do anything I want. I don't have to. Oh, I got to make dinner tonight. So that's kind of a nice thing. But then the coupling is wonderful too.
But I think you guys were also in a little bit of different life spaces because, and it was really hard for both of you for different reasons, but you, to say you had more time is not really, I mean, to me, if all of a sudden you've got small children still at home and your husband's gone, now everything is about you. It's all on you.
Right.
Right.
So
So for
that's-
the younger widows who are listening to the show, there is that aspect of it that is different than your aspect.
Yeah. Sure.
Equally difficult.
Just I'm thinking from a time perspective. It's like my mom said, well, now you can do whatever you want. Well, no. Now I even have less time to do whatever I want because I
Yeah.
don't have a husband. My husband is no longer here.
Well,
so
you
now
have to do
I have
everything.
to be, right.
You have to take the garbage out in the morning.
Well, you guys- you probably
hate
found that too,
taking
right?
the garbage out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I hate it.
Oh.
I still hate it.
Sometimes you don't realize that there's gender roles until your husband's gone, and then you figure out that he
Well-
did more than you thought.
That's exactly what you realize because you're always like, I
find
do everything, and then you realize that they actually did take the garbage out.
That's funny.
Right?
Why is this piling up? Oh, right.
I was wondering how my car ended up having gas in it all the time.
Yeah, right.
Perfect example. That's right. Oh, God, he did that.
But as a younger widow, you definitely have a lot to manage.
However, there's another side to it, too, is that you can be very lonely when your spouse dies and you don't have kids at home.
That's
or whatever.
exactly what I wanted
So
to
there's
say.
a loneliness factor.
If I didn't have my girls,
Why are you touching me like
I
that?
don't know. If I didn't have my girls, I just would have. It would be hard. I would be so
So
sad.
the fact that you both had children is
So
a,
they
is
got
a
me
plus.
through because they
Yes.
were younger and they
Yes.
needed me. They still
Right.
loved me.
That's why I got a dog.
Yeah.
Say that again, Carol.
That's why I got a dog.
Yeah, because
true.
we did, after
Makes
my
it-
son died, I
yes.
got a couple of dogs.
Yeah.
I mean, we've done some dog law shows, and one of the things that I thought was brilliant that somebody said was, dogs are like your children that never grow up.
Exactly. Exactly. And they say you can't spoil your dog because where
You
they
just got a
going?
new one.
I just got a new one, little Frankie. Yeah.
What kind of Frankie?
Yeah.
Like
yeah.
your
I know.
the thing that you used to write about,
Yeah,
Frankie.
All right. Don't mention that. The boyfriend doesn't know that I used to call Jimmy Frankie.
Oh,
Now he knows.
Yes,
Believe
right,
you watch.
yeah,
So I'm sorry, I changed the subject because I've heard of your book. And so
You're
I
the
was
one.
so
You're the
excited to
one.
meet you.
Thank you. That's so nice of you. That's so, yeah. It was a real cathartic experience writing it. I was writing about, I did a blog, and I wrote every day, and I wrote about how I was feeling and certain experiences that happened that I think I would have forgotten.
Yeah. And then I know you go and present.
Yeah, I've been doing that. I haven't done that for a while. Now I'm writing Pour With Me as a play, just a two-hander, two people play.
Awesome. I can't
And
wait
it's
for that.
funny. It's really
All right.
funnier. I
Oh,
think
so
having the
that.
distance. Did you? Yeah. Okay.
Thank you.
I have to get it all produced first.
Okay.
But
I love
it's a wonderful experience. I think people who write blogs, and now it's much easier to express yourself, or just a little journal. I think you do get out a lot of feelings. Once it's down on paper, it's almost not it's done. But did you feel that?
Well, I come from more of a traditional background. I was a crime reporter for the New York Daily News for 7 years.
Oh,
Wow,
cool.
really?
Yeah.
Wow.
And I've been with Women's World magazine for 21 years
Wow.
as their content editor. I've
Love
interviewed.
Women's World.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I've interviewed
right?
more than 65,000 women
Wow.
and doctors
Amazing.
and people about life and all of these
Really?
things. Sure.
That's very good. You can touch me now.
Okay. And my husband was a big journalist. He was an investigative journalist, financial with Bloomberg News. He was in this big movie, like all this stuff. So this is what I do for a living.
Right.
But when I took the ashes sprinkling trips and the resilience building trips for the girls and me, I didn't set out to write a book. That was not what I wanted to do. And
And
friends
it
would-
had to be weird because you're used to writing about everybody else. And all of a sudden you're
yes.
interviewing yourself.
Right.
Yes.
To a certain extent when you
Yeah.
write a book and you're writing about yourself.
So you kept a journal, and your husband had kept a journal. You got his quotes in there. Where are they from?
Well, I did not keep a journal. I'm not a
you
journal
found
keeper.
his journal. That was
So
intense.
I would like write on napkins or whatever, just things that I wanted to remember, just for myself. But then I don't want to give any spoilers away out of the book. But after we got home from our last trip, I found his journals in a filing cabinet
Wow.
that we
wow.
had shared for 15 years, and I'd been in it, 100 times. I never saw them.
Wow.
That's amazing.
So
is,
there's
right?
a lot of foreshadowing.
I like how you start a lot of the chapters with his quotes.
Yeah.
And they're intense.
There are some creepy stuff, not creepy, eerie, like the dog.
Premonition.
Premonitions.
Yeah.
Foreshadowing.
Like what?
There's one thing that he wrote about. He took a motorcycle trip in his 20s across the country because he loved Hunter Thompson.
Right.
And he was into gonzo journalism. And then he wrote these journals and such. We were on this same Indian reservation, which is more than 1 million acres. Wow. And the place we went was as small as a gas station. And he wrote about a yellow dog. And I don't want to tell you what happened, but it was all so similar.
Wow.
And just random places that we went
That's strange.
that
yeah.
he wrote about.
Yeah.
It's,
Awesome.
yeah.
Well, tell me, before we close the show, where we can get your book, Carol, how we can find you.
Oh, thank you. You can go to pourwithme.com or carolschibeli.com. Amazon has it, and that would be great. I think it has something that people will relate to. Hopefully.
How about you?
Mine is published through Penguin Random House and Hatherley Press. give a little plug. It's number 17 on Amazon.
That's a big deal.
It is a
It
big
is a big
deal.
deal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've done a lot of book tours, national book tours, lots of media. So it's beautiful.
So how do we find you?
The Pink Steering Wheel Chronicles. You can find it pretty much throughout the United States and Canada.
Okay.
We have a lot of sales in Canada because we spent a summer there. It's on Amazon, Barnes &
Okay.
Noble.
Do you have a
Independent.
site though, your own site, or no?
I have a blog, which is my name,
Okay.
laurafahrenthold.com.
Okay, there we go.
Love
Okay,
it.
so Carol,
Yes.
one quick piece of advice for somebody who's just lost a spouse.
Oh, that's good. Try to remember that it gets easier, and life is still worth living. And just try and find the humor and the laugh, and don't forget your husband.
All right.
I love it.
That's silly.
How about you,
Love it.
Laura?
A piece of advice, do something completely out of character and build yourself back up again.
Good.
All right.
Good.
I
Well,
like it.
thank you guys so much for being on the
Oh,
show
thank
today.
you. Thank you.
And for all that you've done.
Yes, thank you. I love the show. It was great. And thank you for being like just an example that life does go on and you can have positive chapters ahead of you even after your best go-to person died.
Right. Thank you.
Somebody that you really loved and you just don't think you'll ever get over. Yeah, yeah. So we want to thank everybody for watching this show today. And Heidi and I, and I'm sure the ladies here, want to say that if you've lost hope, please lean on ours until you find your own. And please visit us at opentohope.com and tell your friends and family who've had a loss about this show, because it's important for people to know that they're not alone. And thanks again for watching, and God bless.
You don't need enough hope to get through the day. You don't need enough hope to get through a year. You just need enough hope to get through the next moment.
Even though we had this thing happen to us, it also happened for us.
We hold the memories of those that we cared for, that were a part in the making of our characters. And when they pass, those memories will come back when you need them. They become voices of intuition and of guidance.
We want to be a lifeline for somebody else. We want to inspire others and say, we know what it's like to be where you are, but you're not always going to be there. Just take our hand, believe us. We'll take the journey with you.
When life presents 1,000 reasons to mourn, show life that you have 1,001 reasons to smile.
We get through this one breath at a time. We don't do it a day at a time. That's healing. That's positive, and that's what the world wants to talk about.
People die. Love doesn't die.
We always say, if you've lost hope, please lean on ours.
The loss of a loved one can leave you feeling depressed, angry, alone, lost. But you don't have to face this journey on your own. Open to Hope is a free community for anyone who has experienced loss. Find support. Find help. Find hope. Give grief a voice at opentohope.com.